With the BRICS Summit of 2024 just around the corner, a question arises. Should BRICS and ASEAN consider joining forces? This question is bound to come up sooner or later. If so, is it a realistic possibility or is it unthinkable? What are the opportunities and what are the obstacles? These are the questions that we will answer in today's video. And for the context, just let's look at both groupings. ASEAN, as you already know, is a grouping of 10 countries, and the 11th, Timor-Leste, is expected to join soon. The BRICS is made up of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. BRICS 2 is expected to expand sometime this year. Both groupings are economic powerhouses. The combined GDP of ASEAN is $3.67 trillion US dollars, while the combined GDP of the BRICS countries is about $25.85 trillion US dollars. Let us begin by looking at ASEAN's economic attributes. You may have heard all of this before. ASEAN is at the crossroads of a major trade route. Straits of Malacca in South China Sea is where about 90,000 container ships pass through every year. Something like $3.5 trillion worth of global trade passes in this region. A lot of oil moves in these parts of the world. This region is a vital part of global economy. The second is the diverse economic structure of the region. It is made up of developed economies and developing economies. The GDP is 3.67 trillion, as I mentioned to you earlier, growing at a rate of about 5.3% annually. You do the maths yourself. In about 6 years' time, it would have exceeded 5 trillion. Yes, there is always a possibility of unknown crisis like the Asian financial crisis, but the region has proved that it is able to rebound. This region is very important because it is a manufacturing hub for several kinds of products. Malaysia, for example, accounts for something like 13% of the world semiconductors production, manufacturing, etc. Vietnam is the second largest producer of mobile phones and other kinds of equipment. And to make it more interesting, this region comprises about 662 million people. 60% of them are under the age of 35. So you can imagine it's a young workforce. The possibilities of growth, innovation, all of it are there. Not only is it a manufacturing hub, but importantly, it is also growing wealthy. The middle class is growing, so it is also becoming important as a consumer base. Then we have the natural resources. The ASEAN region produces not only agricultural products, but also mineral products. Together, Indonesia and Malaysia alone produces something like 57% of the global edible oil production through its palm oil production. Besides that, Southeast Asia also produces other types of minerals and other kinds of products, all of which are important not only for human consumption, but also for manufacturing. And don't forget, ASEAN is very well integrated into the global economy through its free trade agreements among itself, free trade agreement with China, with India, and ASEAN is well situated as not only a manufacturing base, but also for global commerce. And that makes ASEAN as a valuable partner. Now, let us look at the economic side of BRICS. It is true that China dominates in this grouping, but collectively, the GDP of the BRICS countries today accounts for something like 35% of global GDP, as compared to only 30% by the G7 countries. The growth rate projected for the BRICS region is about 3.5% annually. So it is a mammoth economic zone. The BRICS countries are also very rich in natural resources. They produce many types of commodities ranging from oil to agricultural products. The region is very important, collectively speaking, for global supply of these commodities. Many of the BRICS members have very advanced industrial bases. China, Russia, India. They are all manufacturing giants. They have skills in a variety of areas, and their innovation, production, manufacturing skills combined makes BRICS a very important player. Another thing that makes them very interesting is the fact that they invest highly in R&D and innovation. China alone is investing something like 514 billion in R&D. Like ASEAN, BRICS members also have a range of free trade agreements. That is, on the one hand, the Eurasian Economic Union, which involves Russia. There is the Mercosur that involves Brazil. And there are various other economic unions and economic subgroupings that involves South Africa and other members. So, like ASEAN, the BRICS members too have a range of economic arrangements that covers several continents, Africa, Latin America, as well as Asia. I think by now it must be clear that both regions, ASEAN and BRICS, have extensive economic attributes. ASEAN obviously is a very valuable partner for BRICS, and BRICS too is an important consideration for ASEAN. But let us look at where complementarities may be found for both of these groupings to work together. The first area, I think, is in global food security. Collectively, ASEAN and BRICS produces a large amount of food that is required for human consumption. I have mentioned earlier that Indonesia and Malaysia alone produces something like 57% of the global edible oil production. This is an important thing. Then don't forget, there is rice, corn, maize, wheat. All these are produced in both regions. These are all important for human life. So there is a great, I think, opportunity for collaboration between both groupings, that is in global food security. And then naturally there is trade and investment. We have noted earlier that both regions are growing very fast. They produce a lot of things, and they're also consumer bases as well. So there is plenty of opportunities for trade between the regions, investments within the region. And then there is this area of technology and innovation. Of course, both regions are competitors as well, but that does not mean they cannot collaborate. Both regions have their own strength in different areas. It is entirely possible for collaboration in R&D. Who knows, the 5G networks or even more advanced types of communications. Is it possible for collaboration? I think yes, but it needs, of course, for both sides to sit together and identify how this collaboration could be achieved. Another area of complementarity is in infrastructure development. Well, ASEAN requires a lot of infrastructure development. The region is focused on bridging the development gap within its members. The BRICS countries have capacity in this area. There is possibility perhaps to look at funding from the new development bank. I don't know, but these are things that can be discussed by both sides. Both sides could also look at market access. As I have mentioned earlier, both ASEAN and BRICS have their own economic arrangements within themselves and with other members. There are free trade agreements signed by members of ASEAN with other countries, and BRICS members too have their own economic arrangements and economic unions within their regions. So collectively, we are talking about market access across continents. We are talking about access through Asia, Latin America, Africa, and other places as well. And the fifth area where complementarity can be found is in development of human capital. There could be joint ventures to train people, not only training in language, but also technical training and capacity building for the member countries. Now let us look at the potential areas of competition. The first area of competition would be in manufacturing and export markets. There is bound to be overlap between the manufacturing products by both regions, and therefore there would be competition in these areas. The second is competition for resources. As manufacturing hubs, there would be again overlap in the demand of certain types of commodities and minerals. So there would be competition. The third is technological rivalry. As countries in the region are trying to advance in new technologies and emerging technologies, for sure we will find competition in these areas. But again, there could be complementarity and competition as well. And the fourth, we spoke about the free trade agreements that both countries have among each other and with other countries. Potentially this could form economic blocs. There would be some degree of competition, and therefore there would be a desire to protect economies through these mechanisms. But again, complementarities can be found as well. But to me, over and above all of this, the biggest issue would be different geopolitical agendas. There is a divergence in geopolitical agendas of ASEAN and BRICS, but this need not actually impede cooperation in trade and investment. In fact, it is entirely possible to have competition geopolitically but cooperate economically. I began by asking that since the BRICS Summit of 2024 is just around the corner, whether or not BRICS and ASEAN should consider joining forces. Is it a realistic thing? Is it feasible? What are the opportunities and what are the obstacles? From the discussion that we have had just now, I think there should be just no doubt at all in our minds that there is absolutely a lot of opportunities for both regions to collaborate. But of course, the big elephant in the room is the geopolitical differences. But that should not be an impossible obstacle. Why do I say that? Because ASEAN already has extensive and deep dialogue relations with three of the major members of BRICS: China, India, and Russia. It is simply not impossible that ASEAN and BRICS can find ways to collaborate. For this reason, ASEAN and BRICS should set up a platform where they can begin to talk to each other. And I have suggested that perhaps an ASEAN-BRICS Forum could be one such platform. I have spoken about this in an earlier video. The link is somewhere up there. Please watch it. For ASEAN, such a forum would enable it to make sure that its own interests are not sidelined in whatever future development that BRICS might take. And for both groupings, I think such a forum would provide a valuable opportunity to identify areas to cooperate, to reduce competition, and to create new value. I am more convinced than ever that BRICS and ASEAN should indeed join forces. And the ASEAN-BRICS Forum could be one way to do it. If you liked this video, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And as usual, I value your comments as well. See you soon.